Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Joe and welcome to a brand new video. Today we've got something a little bit different and we're going to be talking about my predictions and hopes for the SMISSMAS 2019 update. And of course today, as I'm recording this, it's the 2nd of December, which means the festive season is officially upon us. You go and watch your TV, there's Christmas adverts. You flick on the radio, there's Christmas songs playing. You go onto PyroJoe's channel, there's SMISSMAS videos. The Christmas season is here. So I figured, since we are in the festive season, why don't we talk about what we want from the SMISSMAS 2019 update? Assuming we get the SMISSMAS 2019 update. Because realistically, I think we can all agree that, this year has been a bit underwhelming in terms of updates. There's been nothing really substantial added to the game at all, and maybe SMISSMAS could be a time of redemption. Without getting too much into it, I feel like Valve will more than likely put a bit more energy into Team Fortress 2 now, especially considering Alex has been announced and Dota's just had a big update. I feel like there will be more people working on Team Fortress 2, and me getting my hopes up is kind of thinking that, maybe TF2 can get priority now and start to receive content added to the game, and Christmas would be a perfect time to do so. And this brings me on to my first point of the SMISSMAS 2019 update. So a month or two ago, someone sent me this on Twitter. It was someone's concept for a Siberian Blizzard update. This is to contrast the Jungle Inferno update that the Pyro received, as it was agreed that once the Pyro received an update, it was more than likely that the loser, being the Heavy, would receive one as well. And all these years later, it wouldn't be a bad time to release it. It makes sense around Christmas. I think obviously the Siberian winter theme is very strong and it opens up a multitude of options for cosmetics and weapons alike that could be added for the Heavy. The cosmetic side of things I won't go too much into until I start talking about the case, which is an inevitability in every TF2 update. They're always going to add a case because how are they going to make money? But what I think would be a really interesting idea for the Heavy update specifically, or a SMISSMAS update as a whole, would be a Battle Pass. We literally saw the Battle Pass added to CSGO for the first time in CSGO's sort of history, and it got me thinking that this is obviously a concept Valve are now familiar with and have worked on with CSGO, and on the whole it seems to have gone down really well with the CSGO community and the CSGO fanbase. So why wouldn't they add a Battle Pass to Team Fortress 2, where you can receive exclusive cosmetics, exclusive unlocked cosmetic cases, etc., with items that can only be achieved exclusively from completing Battle Pass missions. The missions would take place similarly to contractor missions, however, of course, it would be on a Battle Pass and you'd receive Battle Pass rewards as opposed to contracts. And that's essentially what it would be, just an updated version of the contractor. And if they introduce new weapons to the game, maybe for the Heavy update or just in general, the Battle Pass could be a way to achieve it. You can't get it unless you do the Battle Pass. I just think that would be a really great idea, and it would incentivize people to play various game modes, various maps, etc., perhaps that they're not used to and that they don't play, and overall it would just breathe life into the game. People would be incentivized to play and grind out the rewards. So for this segment, I'm going to be talking about some workshop content that I feel like will be added. Of course, Valve kind of like adding workshop content to the game. It requires minimal effort from them and gives new content to the community. So I'm going to be looking at one map and 5 cosmetics. And the first map is Jingle Jam. And the only map, I should say, is Jingle Jam, which is a King of the Hill map created. And it's incredibly Christmassy themed. As you can see, the entire map is covered in snow. And it's just really nice. The little detailing on the map is great. I think the core point where the King of the Hill is great. There's a lot of sort of subsections around the point where you can imagine a lot of sort of battles happening. And there's even a little Christmas tree, which is a really nice touch as well. Just a little Christmas tree there. So I definitely can imagine this being added to the game. I think it is a really sort of like TF2 style map. It's not too outlandish. And it definitely does feel like something I can imagine playing. Up next, we've got a pretty cool all-class hat, which is the Deserted Man. Nothing quite says Christmas like a massive cake on top of your head. It really does remind me of the melted mop, which was recently added for the Pyro. However, as opposed to just stopping at an ice cream cone on the head, we've got a massive cake with layers of icing, etc. And it just does look super Christmassy. I think it looks really cool on each class. It doesn't necessarily look out of place, especially when it's partnered with winter cosmetics, like we've got the juvenile jumper there on the Scout. And it really does look pretty good on all classes. I think this would definitely be a good mercenary grade to fill the case with. Up next, we've got the present from Pyro. Pyro, which is a complete head replacement that replaces the sort of gas mask of the Pyro with wrapping paper and a big bow going around. And the bow is also paintable, I'll show you that in just a second, but I really like the detailing on the wrapping paper itself. It's these Christmas trees and TF2 logos sort of repeating all over. And just overall, I think the colours of this are really nice. I can imagine this actually being a war paint, and I'll get into that later as well. But when you paint it, it changes the colour of the bow, which is really cool. Up next, we've got a cosmetic for all classes once again, which is the festive frames, and I can't believe these don't exist already. It's essentially a glasses for all classes, so things like the grey bands, etc. But as opposed to like having any sort of detailing, they're just covered in festive lights. So it's essentially a mix of things like the grey bands with a festive visor. This is what you'd get. It's really cool, and it has two paint styles, as you can see. One paint style mixes or paints the frame, and one paint style paints the lights. And I prefer it painting the frame just for the fact that, you know, if you're going to have festive visors, you don't want them to be all the same colour. You'd want them to be sort of all these different colours as the festive weapons are, etc. But overall, this is a great cosmetic. Once again, I can imagine it being a great mercenary grade in a case. Up next, we've got the Globetrotter, which actually has two styles. This first style is the dust style, and essentially it replaces the bottom, or it's a snow globe essentially. The bottom region of it is like a sandy scape with a building on it. It looks like the building from 2 Fort. And then the second style, which we'll get into in just a second, is very snowy, as you can see it down there. It's essentially a snowy version, which is much more SMISSMASy themed, and I feel like the connotations of a snow globe are incredibly Christmassy, and it makes a lot of sense to add this into the case. I can imagine this almost being like an elite grade. An unusual one of these would be really cool. A nice all-class hat. And the final cosmetic is the gingerbread man in the Sugar Saxton style, and there's a different style for each of the classes, which I think is fantastic. And just look how cute that Sugar Saxton is. I think the detail on that with the little gumdrop eyes is great, and the icing on the hat. Just overall, this is a really creative cosmetic, and all the rest of the classes look great as well. And I can't imagine them adding different styles for one cosmetic. I feel like if Valve were to add this into the game, it would be like loads of different cosmetics, like a gingerbread scout, a gingerbread Enju, as opposed to just being one core cosmetic. Along with things like balance changes, etc., new weapons, I feel like something we'd really like and kind of went under the radar and a lot of people's sort of wants for this update is more war paints, and maybe festive specific war paints. Now, I don't have any on the workshop unfortunately that I'll be able to show, but just like Christmas themed war paints. And I know there's already a few in the game, but I definitely feel like there is a gap in the market. And even like we saw on the Pyro cosmetic that we looked at earlier, that could even be applied to a war paint that could be put on a multitude of weapons. Also, I feel like more festive weapons could be really cool. We've got the Festivizer, which obviously kind of takes away from having festive weapons. But if there was more festive weapons with slightly different designs to the festivized weapons, like things like the festive scattergun, etc., compared to the festivized scattergun, I feel like there is a gap in the market there. Also, what I think would be really cool, and I'm kind of stretching out a lot, and I can almost guarantee that Valve won't do this, but I think it would be really nice to have something man vs machine related and also Christmas themed. So for example, Christmas themed exclusive man vs machine missions where they're available to complete for a set amount of time, and from it you can receive exclusive Christmassy themed man vs machine items. So for example, all the bot killers you receive have a BMOC on, so like the heads have a little Santa hat on, or they have like a party hat, or there's Australians that perhaps have different designs, or like silver Australians, or like Australians with a little bow tie on. Just something tiny that incentivizes people to play man vs machine again. Whether that is new maps with the same rewards or the same maps with new rewards, I definitely feel like man vs machine is such a moneymaker for Valve if they put the time into it, you know? I think it has such potential as a mode, and like Valve are kind of almost like disregarding it, but if they added like a Christmas man vs machine where you do a tour and you get like a special edition item that can only be obtained for a set amount of time before the mission is no longer available to complete, people would be grinding it. I'd be completing missions over and over again in an attempt to get like a rare bot killer or a rare Australian. But let me know what you guys think, man. Obviously this is just my ideas at the end of the day. There's no real reason for Valve to implement these. These are just some things that I think Valve could do with minimal effort that would be huge for the game. If you guys enjoyed the video, please do remember to leave a like, and once again let me know your thoughts down below along with any ideas you have, and I may make a part 2 to this, or I may make a Steam Workshop video, and hopefully we won't be underwhelmed like we have been for previous updates this year. Thanks again so much for watching, guys, and peace.